My little film about Portland and environs is just a glimpse, a taste of the plethora of obstacles to dreams of accessibility, as told through the lens of a few people, including myself, and places that, I hope, represent enough to pique interest and awareness. Awareness can lead to change, and positive change is the dream. We four dream of access in both nature and the city. Better access into rivers, lakes, forests, and the ocean, not just nearby. In all the city and neighborhoods, not just curb cutouts and ramps or downtown, although those as well, but sidewalks, roads, shops, and entryways. The list is long. There has been progress, but just a drop in the bucket. We still dream on. In my dream world, I happen to have a dream persona that can accomplish the feats that I cannot. Leap over sidewalks, dance around waterfalls, run in the forest.
In October 22nd, I turned 76. I'm a disabled veteran, so it's definitely been hard.
I was in a car accident in 1992, so I've been, 33 years now.
I have been in and out of a wheelchair since I was 9 years old, but I became permanently bound to the wheelchair in 2018 when I had my amputation of my right leg.
I came to Pacific Northwest Oregon and Washington in summer of 2023 as a single 68-year-old woman in a manual wheelchair to see what I could find, to get into forests, rivers, lakes, waterfalls, and ocean. This was an end-of-life adventure that research promised lots of, or at least a few, accessible options. I was sadly disappointed that what I longed for and envisioned was not what the books and websites thought I could or should want to experience. The forest rises with roots like walls, a gate where I must stop. I pause at its edge, where once I wandered beneath these canopies, each path a promise I could follow, now dreams cut short. The lake lies cradled in the hills, a mirror of sky and drifting clouds. I remember the weightless silence of water, how I swam until the world was only ripples and light, now unreachable. And the ocean, the endless horizon of salt and wind, I used to run toward its waves, feet sinking into the wet sand, arms flung open to its boundless blue. Now the expanse, like quicksand, traps me ashore. Forest, lake, and sea, their voices reach me still, but I am held apart, a listener at the threshold. Not silence, but distance. Not refusal, but exclusion. The wild world calls me in. I answer their song with longing, waiting for the path that brings me back.
The ocean is like my favorite place. I prefer warm oceans. In Oregon, they do have mats now that can get you out pretty far. And they have some beach wheelchairs that you can get out onto the beach with. I mean, nobody wants to go in the water in Oregon. It's too cold. You don't need the amphibious ones. Hawaii, I would rent one when I go there. Yeah, where you can actually go in the water and you can float.
I really like picking huckleberries, and that's usually during August. My wife and I would go to up in the mountains and Warm Springs on the reservation and pick huckleberries, and then we would drive over to Mount Adams across the Columbia River and go on the Yakima reservation and pick huckleberries over there. And then I would be on hillsides that were this steep, So I would be down there picking. I can't pick now. But I saw these vehicles that had a thing in the back, kind of a lift that would pick up your scooter, so you'd have your scooter mounted on the back of your vehicle. And so I was thinking that sometime in the future I would be able to have that, and then I would be able to take my scooter and go to places and go to lakes and go to the beach.
The nature is just not as accessible as I would like, and I think it can be done. There are some places that should not be impacted, but then I don't think anybody should go there. I think if people can go there, then everyone should be able to go there. Costa Rica is pretty amazing accessibility. In their national parks, they have a universal walk path in most of their accessible parks. If that universal path has to be closed down for some reason, they close the entire park. So if you can't go there in a wheelchair, nobody can go there. And they really make an effort to make everything universal, and it's just universal design. It's just inclusive, right? Because it doesn't just help people in wheelchairs. It helps mothers with strollers. It helps people with walkers. It's not just about mobility issues.
Oftentimes it says it's accessible, but it might not be because the slope is too steep, or if the ramp is steep or the way off and it doesn't have any rails that can help you pull up if you've got use of your hands. Or I don't know why people think that if they have a path that it could possibly be accessible if it's covered in gravel. Gravel is extremely hard to maneuver in because it just sinks your wheels. But I have seen places that were posted as being accessible that had gravel paths. Pretty much need asphalt, and it needs to be wide enough so that you don't have one set of wheels hanging off to the side.
I wheeled my way to distant waterfall overlooks, not waterfall pools or up-close viewing. Nice path, if there was one, then stairs. Lake and river paths that offered views, but no access to actual water for wheelchair users. Beaches whose sand I struggled through, but could not reach the water. Beautiful forest roads, but no accessible paths into the woods, except the barest minimum. I understand the difficulties and drawbacks of making accessible paths, nature degradation and invasion. Maintenance that even the road showed was difficult as I bounced and lurched along in my car. Creation and maintenance cost money. Budgets are tight. I couldn't give up, traveling from one supposedly accessible site to another, but I eventually resigned myself that what accessible means as a word is more of a viewing experience than an immersive one, unless one has, or has money for, a partner or helper to make navigating obstacles possible. I feel happy that there are at least some viewing experiences, because that is important too. But please just remember that near and in are quite different experiences. Then I survived suicide to make Portland my home. Accessible Portland. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Sidewalks of death lead to surprisingly missing or cliff-like curb cutouts. Thankfully, I don't mind slowing or stopping traffic as I wheel up and down driveways and roads to find a way back onto a sidewalk. Or curb cutouts that strangely deep dive into a ditch. Sidewalk displacement that creates an impassable cliff or jagged crevice, a small canyon of despair. Or struggle on through at the expense of the integrity of my now small electric chair, nuts and bolts jolting, casters twisting, suspension? Ha! all the way back from this horrible sidewalk to the driveway so we can get down the street, but look at it. It's impossible. It's really steep. And there's a big cliff at the bottom of it that goes into a valley that you can't get up from. I'm not even going to try it because I'm afraid of falling. And I just love being in a wheelchair, going back and forth, trying to find a way down the road.
I can either go out my driveway, but I usually need an assist because there isn't a smooth way off of the driveway into the street. The lip is still very high. Beyond the lip, there's this weird little dip even, so that the water won't flow down our driveway. I usually end up getting stuck. I can't go out my neighbor's because it has this diversion hump so that water doesn't go down her driveway. And the sidewalk ends at the end of her property. So the only way for me to continue going this direction is for me to get out into the streets.
Homeowners and PBOT have told me that in Portland, sidewalk maintenance in neighborhoods is the homeowner responsibility, at the cost of thousands they don't have or don't want to have to spend. Some kindly souls actually get out a bit of cement and patch cracks or create ramps up the dangerous cliffs. They are few. After filming one egregious sidewalk for this project, I was thrilled to see that the homeowner had actually patched the worst parts. Most just don't notice or care or can't.
Doesn't make a lot of sense. Because the city, it's my understanding that the city owns the sidewalks, yet for some reason that it is the responsibility of the homeowners. So when you come across like somewhere where a tree's roots have destroyed the sidewalk, it's going to be up to the homeowner, and a fix is going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, right in front of that Chinese restaurant, right there, the roots of the tree are growing up, and so that whole sidewalk is all like this, and it's like terrible trying to drive through it. You can, whoa. So what I would do is I'd stop on the other side and go down a block, and then go down a block and come back. So I'd have to get out of my way that much, whereas I could have gone across right in front of the bank and then gotten in my building. But then it's just terrible. Like hanging on for dear life as you're going along, and then all the broken parts of the sidewalk and big holes and gaps and things like that it makes it real difficult to get around.
There's a lot of people's attitudes that, well, I can't get around, I have a leg, and so I should just sit in a regular chair all day long. You know, that it isn't important to them that we are people that still have things to give back to society. We're limited by our having inaccessibility to a lot of things. You know, our ability to get out and get around, and that's what I wish people would see, is that we are people that aren't just sucking off the system, that there are things we hope to give back.
From my perch, I cry, I want to safely traverse sidewalks and streets, not to dive into unforeseen crevices and valleys, losing my balance, toppling my chair. I want to safely enter the forest, not too far, maybe a mile. I want to get into the ocean, not everywhere, but somewhere. I want to bathe in a river, a lake, a waterfall thundering. Not everywhere, just somewhere. I can dream. This little film is about dreaming. and frustration that dreams don't always come true. But they could, they might one day. I'll keep wanting and looking and wheeling and dreaming.